All right, welcome to our third, I believe, winter special. May not be the third you see, but it's the third I recorded, I think. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. I have a carrier guest on with us today who is going to be sharing her insight, her experience, her information about Pekin Life, a carrier that, in full transparency, I have written nothing with yet, but in full transparency, we're learning together. And I think that's the best part of, having open, honest, transparent conversations with anyone who wants to watch. What I look for in a carrier is like, what do you have? When should I use it? What works? But also when I look for things as an agency manager, whatever term we want to use, is like relationship and what's the company like behind the application? Because that matters to a lot and many times more than you think. So I'm going to turn the mic over. There's no mic plugged in right now, but I'm going to turn the camera over to Amy so she can introduce herself, and then we'll just kind of walk through a conversation together.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It is very exciting for us to be here today. Pekin Life is not a whole household name across the nation, but we've been in business for 100 years, and I'm very excited to have this opportunity to share with you, Chris, and the rest of the team out there watching this about what we can bring to the table. I have been with Pekin Life for 30 years, so I believe in this company. I believe in what we can bring to the table, and relationship is the heart of everything we do. So, when we had our formal introduction last week, it really excited me to hear someone who's out there looking for a relationship, because that's what we're about. Doing what's right for you, doing what's right for the client, and supporting you and your agents as you build that momentum and with Pekin in the life space.
Absolutely. Our space, as you're well aware, is pretty interesting, where there's a lot of carriers that have been around forever. Maybe not forever, but like as long as most of us have been around. Very little changes, maybe some rates, maybe the product, but they're always been there. There's companies that come on the market and they never really take off. And there's some that come on and then go away. We got news recently that SBLI is exiting the market as of March, if not sooner. And it had a really solid product, a really solid process, great people that picked up the phone. But it only lasted 3 years. So what's Pekin's history like? How financially strong is it? The first thing I'm going to hear from an agent when I say get contracted with somebody is they're like, why and how long will they be there before I do all this again?
Right. I love that. So as I mentioned, Pekin's been around for 100 years. 1921, a group of Central Illinois farmers right here in Pekin decided to start a property casualty company selling auto insurance to the farm community. In 1965, they expanded that into the life market. So we have been selling life insurance since 1965. We are rated with AM Best as excellent, A minus. We are sitting at the end of 24, so our financials will be coming out again. We are sitting on a surplus of about $129 million, assets of $1.6 billion, and that's specific to the life company. So we're very financially stable. We've been along for a very long time, but that's another reason that I'm interested in this conversation with you and your team, because that does matter, and not every firm, person like yourself, upline, takes that into consideration, because when we take something to market, we want it to stick. We want to be there when the time comes to make a claim. We want to be there to support that. So we bring the stability that you would want in a partner for sure.
Yeah. I mean, some agents have said things to me that you want to knock them in the head with, because it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Like, what do I care if it's here one day and gone the next? I'm like, you will when you have a chargeback and you have to physically actually pay it back. And then it's not even going to the company, it's going to a TPA because the carrier doesn't care anymore. You'll care.
Yeah.
Or if you have a couple agents and one of them quits as usual and they roll up and there's nothing to clean it up but your bank account, you'll care. Or even like the littlest things, like a carrier is gone and so is the access to the back office, and Miss Mabel calls wanting to add more coverage, and you're like, I can't get to where your stuff would be to know this stuff, and it's just bothersome. Yeah. So in so many different ways, stability is super important. Now, you have a product that I don't think anybody else does. There was one similar, but it didn't sound even nearly as close to this. Can you kind of spend a few minutes walking through the hybrid life, is it? Or the life product you have that nobody else offers?
Yes. We have yet to find it out in the marketplace. There's been things that are similar. It's called Transitional Life. It is a term policy with a fully paid up whole life rider at the end of term. So how it works is you're going to choose your face amount for your term period, what that period looks like, 10, 20, 30 years to age 65. And then you're going to work with the client to say, at the end of that term, rather than walking away with nothing, what do you want sitting there in a fully paid up whole life policy with cash value that's guaranteed and the premiums stop at the end of that term? Huge flexibility.
Yep.
People in the senior market or the final expense market that kind of aligns with maybe some of your target market, they're utilizing it even in the 65 range to say, I've got some credit card debt. I have, some final expenses final expenses, but debt that I want to cover. So I need a little bit more term, maybe not 1 million term, but maybe 50,000 term. But I also, at the end of that term, I don't want to walk away with nothing. So Transition Life allows them to purchase a $50,000 term with a $10,000 whole life rider. So 10 years are going to pay into the policy. They're going to have $50,000 of life coverage. At the end of that 10 years, the premiums stop and that $10,000 whole life stays in place, fully paid up, fully guaranteed, which you can't always say that on a product, fully paid up, fully guaranteed with a cash value. The flexibility of the product is you could also have a client who wants $5 million in term coverage and wants $500,000 in whole life coverage. Transitional Life is so flexible to dial into what your client needs. And I think that's important because, Pekin is not going to be a fit for every single client. We want you to find what fits for the client. And we really think this brings to the table something you're not going to get somewhere else, where they're not throwing money away on a term without having something at the end of that coverage period.
It's interesting. There are carriers out there that fully and transparently and willingly say they're not a fit for everything, but they're sort of like a Swiss Army blade in your portfolio. Like a surety will say, we're not your everything, but we're like your accessory for everything.
Right.
And like Transitional Life might not be something you sell everybody, obviously, but it's something that you can go to you guys on and really specialize with. One of the things that I'm going to dive into further is other products you might offer, but something else that I feel like might be lacking in the industry would be things like customer service. And it runs the gamut right now from there literally isn't any to you might as well just email them to it's overseas, no offense, because we have a team of VAs we work with there, to people that will talk the person out of the sale. Like, what did you just do? Or people that will say, well, I see that you're angry. Let's turn this into a complaint. What?
Right. No.
Gamut of customer service experiences. What's it like if you sell a policy to somebody and that somebody calls into Pekin? Well, what's the customer service experience like?
So I'm going to walk you through from that sale all the way to the claim. And, our sales team is committed to helping support you. We have an amazing internal wholesaler, Eric Garland, who is going to do all the things to get the agents trained, get them available, do one-on-one training, all the things to give you the tools and your team the tools they need to be successful in the field. Our underwriting staff, we have Tara, who's committed to these teams. We have a full staff of underwriters, but we've focused Tara on the broker distribution. She is there on a phone call. You will talk to an underwriter. That is not common in this day and age. You're going to go to a call center. You're going to go through an email. She's going to respond how you want to be, phone call, email, whatever. She is hugely beneficial for field underwriting. When we bring on new teams, we host training. So with her on those calls, bounce questions off us. How do you handle criminal backgrounds? How do you handle diabetic with heart disease? She's going to give agents the tools they need for that. And she's going to be there all along the way. We have amazing case manager support that's going to let you know updates if there's things we need on the cases. Then taking it all the way to the end of why you're selling this policy is to provide that protection when they need it, when the death occurs. I have been here 30 years. My background has been in the claim space, and we pay claims in 1 day. Not contestable claims, that's a different beast. If it's contestable in the first year, we have to do the investigation. But I really pride ourselves. I challenge you to find other carriers that will commit to a clean claim being out the door in 1 business day. So we are committed to this. And it's just not talk. Like I said, I've been here 30 years. This is how our company has always worked, and this is how we continue to work. So relationships matter, and that customer service is critical to make everyone's life easier and smoother, from your client to your team.
I've seen some of the mid-market carriers even pay contestable claims in a fairly reasonable amount of time. Obviously, it can't be while they're in the cooler. That's just not how it works with the funeral home and death and such. But like in 6 weeks, They got the death certificate, they got the information they needed, they looked it over and said, sure, and they cut the check. So I feel like can't promise that, but like that is far more possible in a carrier that has that kind of a streamlined approach. Paying a claim in a day, I mean, that's you match up the fact that they are dead, the policy is active, who gets the money, and then write the check. I mean, what doesn't benefit a company to sit on it any longer than that, right?
Correct. And we often get feedback from agents that other carriers' forms haven't even been received yet. And they already have our money in the bank. So we really do pride ourselves on that. And to your point on the contestable, we don't just throw a records request over the wall during that contestable. Our analysts are making the calls, doing everything possible to get those contestables out just as quickly as we can, because the reality is that family is counting on that money to take care of their, final needs. So we want to make that service very smooth.
I don't know if you guys do this, and I'll edit it out if this should be, but there's carriers that will will literally drop mail in an area looking to find information on somebody to decide if they're going to pay out a claim in contestability. Like, you might have gone to this one urgent care this one time and it doesn't appear in your normal medical record, but they're going to find it. They're going to pull it and they're going to look for reasons like, oh, I think you might have had intestinal something once. And
yeah,
no, it's a claim. Like, if it looks clean, like, come on.
Yeah. So our contestable process is essentially, we begin with an interview. Typically it's the beneficiary because that's the family member. Occasionally we have to go to a spouse if they're not the beneficiary, have that interview, discuss, what their medical, get records based on that, information on the death certificate. But we're not looking for a reason to deny a claim by any means. And in fact, I would say we fault the other way. If it's gray, we're going to give in favor of the beneficiary.
Yeah. And you're just abiding by the law by
Correct.
The process and making sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be, or insurance wouldn't work in the first place.
Correct.
Let's circle back to some more basic stuff. Quality of business, I think, is a buzzword that's becoming more and more more and more understood. The carrier that's exiting in March said, well, they didn't say it, I heard it, that the quality of business wasn't profitable and it wasn't meeting expectations. And I'm sure somebody in a boardroom behind a big desk said, enough of that. Like, that's not working.
Right.
How important is the quality of business to a carrier? Because that's something that we may not always grasp the importance of in the field or on the phone.
And that's where building that relationship really makes a difference, because obviously we can't take all bad risk, but we're in the game of risk. There's going to be inherent risk with selling insurance, but we have to manage that. And that's where I think the longevity of our company and the strength of our financial stability, we take calculated risk. We look at it and we determine so that in a year, we're not like, gosh, we took on a horrible block of business. So we manage those expectations. And if there's an unfortunate situation that an application is declined, that's the nature of the business too. You're going to have declines in situations because they just are way outside of that risk tolerance. But yeah, that's disheartening that, you've gone down a path with a carrier, and then they decide that maybe they took bad risk. We try to be smart and strategic about the risk that we do take.
Good. What other products besides transitional life do you find to be most often sold with you guys?
So actually, we see a lot this year, especially. I'm not sure, maybe it's the market environment, but a whole life single premium. We have people who are in the retirement space or senior market, and they have clients that are sitting on $150,000 cash. They're reasonably healthy, and they will put the $150,000 into a single premium whole life. So it's locked in with that death benefit that's greater than $150,000. They're sitting on a cash balance, and we have this really great long-term care rider that you can supplement. And the beauty of our long-term care rider is it's not written like a standalone medical policy. You're going under life rules. So the underwriting is much easier. It's the same as a life coverage. It's not use it or lose it. So if they put that rider on that $150,000 single premium whole life, they would have access to 5% a month for their long-term care. But if they don't need long-term care, which was wonderful, if they don't need long-term care, they're sitting on that death benefit. So we've seen a lot in that senior market where you've got clients that, potentially have that cash that are just not really sure. They're just sitting in a small CD. We do have, the basic term policy that, 101 insurance. We've got the term policy. And then we also have what's called a simplified issue whole life. And on this policy, there's essentially 3 medical questions that are asked, and it's for that client that's maybe a step above the health of a final expense client. So they're not in great health, but they're not quite to that subpar health of a final expense. It's
Mhm.
a max of benefit of $24,999, but it's a simple way to get a final expense at a much lower premium if the
Mm.
client's health can support that.
Okay. And then is there a final expense that goes next to that in like the
We
table?
don't have what you would call a traditional final expense.
Okay, that would be that one.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Good to know. The application process with that, not to get too into the weeds.
Yeah.
Is it an instant decision application? Is it submit and then it's reviewed? When it's reviewed, how quick is there an answer? What does it look like if I sent one of those in?
Okay. So I'm going to say we have instant issue, but the parameters we're still testing. To your point about valid risk, we have very tight range. So if you get an instant issue, instant decision, it's a very slim chance. However, our underwriting guidelines, we've averaged this entire year of first look on a policy of 1 to 3 days. I had 2 last week that I had a text from the agent. He submitted the application. It was a $2,400 annualized premium. It was a big case. Submitted that in the morning. He texted me at 2 and said it was already approved, and the client went online and paid the initial premium.
Wow.
So, the responsiveness, although it's not sitting in front of your client and getting the okay, you're going to know very quickly, where we're at that case, and we're getting those approvals done very quickly.
Outstanding. Let's throw one more into the wind and see what you think or what you thought or what you want to share with those out there. What is something that you feel like an agent should know from the other side of the industry, like from the carrier perspective, the seat that you sit in with Pekin? What's something you wish agents would just know a little bit more about from the company perspective?
Yeah, I think kind of what I hit on before. I think taking advantage of the carriers who offer you access to underwriting is very important, because the more you can manage expectations with your client and not have surprises, coach them on what to put on applications, what matters on an application, just getting a handle on how you can better field underwrite policies, and working with carriers, underwriters to learn that. It's going to make the agent's life much easier, because they're going to know when they're working with a client, if X, Y, and Z are true, there could be an issue of a decline. But also your client's going to appreciate that you've taken the time to understand that, hey, I've got diabetes, heart disease, and I'm overweight. I'm not going to get a standard rate. Managing those conversations at the time of application just makes everyone's life so much easier. And I think your clients are going to respect that more. So I think taking advantage of carriers who offer up that service is a game changer for agents who take advantage of it.
Let's go a little bit further in that one, because I think there's such a difference between what's going on here and what's going on there sometimes, that if we just understood what happens cohesively, everything would work really well.
Yeah.
What about things like quality of business, complaints, confusions, like stuff that you guys have to deal with that maybe we don't have line of sight on, just being regular old producers? Challenges with distribution, like you have to build relationships with large FMO partners and keep them happy and keep the board or whoever runs your company happy. What else is that like from your perspective, balancing distribution and responsibilities to your company at the same time?
I love this question, because I'm going to back up just a smidge on the Pekin history, because I'm telling you how we've been around forever, but then yet we're having these new conversations. So managing that distribution and understanding the market and avoiding complaints is important. Our primary distribution since 1965 has been through property casualty agents exclusively in the Midwest, Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, that strip. And we decided to go into the broker distribution market with partners such like you, Chris. And our first thought was, well, we can just take that model and plug it in. That's not true. The distribution is very different. So 2 years ago, we made a strategic play to pause our relationship with the NMO. Why are we not being a successful partner? What do we need to do differently? And it has really been a game changer. We are at 2.5 times production last year, but we had to take a step back and to your point, figure out how do we avoid complaints, because this market wants something a little different than the P&C agent who were cross-selling to a life policy.
Yeah.
So having that focus, I think, says a lot about our company of realizing we've been in life insurance forever. but this is a little different. And we want to bring to the table what partners like you are looking for so we can have a successful and not have those complaints coming through because, commission is handled this way instead of that way or whatever the case may be.
That's good. I like that. I got 2 more left for you. And if you are getting something out of today's conversation, interact with the content. Drop a comment, hit the like button. If you absolutely despise this, hit the dislike button. There's 2 choices right now. We're going to share at the end of this video, and I should have said in the beginning of the video, sorry, Doug Massey. If you partner with Loyal and contract through Pekin, I'm going to tell you at the end of the video what you're going to get out of that because it's absolutely worth it. Before we get into that, is there anything coming up in 2026? Updates, processes, products, improvements, or is everything looking pretty much status quo with Pekin going into 2026?
No, we are definitely, like I said, in the broker distribution, we're in growth mode. And with that, we want to do some new and exciting things. We are not national yet, and we can share that state map for you to put up here in the chat later, or however you want to share that with your teams. But we realize to be a player in the space, like I was saying before, we have to change some things. And part of that is getting into more states. So first quarter of 26, we are evaluating state expansion. So stay tuned for that. We're looking forward to that. We also are looking for new partners like you, Chris, Loyal Insurance, and your teams. Like, what can we do to work together? Like, what can we bring to the table to support you to build that relationship with Pekin? So not a spoiler alert, but, Chris and I have had some conversations about what can we do to help you give Pekin a try? And we're being strategic. We're not just taking this to the masses. We're not all agents aren't getting this. We're having conversations and sitting down, learning what works for you. How can we motivate you to give Pekin a try? Because we truly believe if you take the time, make it a habit for a month with Pekin, you're going to see the value we bring. And so I'm excited to see where we can take this in 26.
Yeah. I always tell folks, give a new carrier 10 applications, and you'll have a good sense if it works for you, if you like it, based off your personal preferences, the business you encounter, the quality, all that stuff. Give them 10 and then say, hey, this works, or hey, this doesn't, or hey, it sort of works in this situation. But don't go through contracting. Don't make them pay for all this stuff and process all these things and then do nothing with it. That's just rude to everybody. Do it and then give them 10 and then decide where it fits in your portfolio. And like you said, then they get a beach house, right? You said you'll buy me or every one of my agents beach property, or was it just like a regular bonus?
It was an Airbnb for a week. I would like to say that you have so much production coming in the door, I can get you a beach house, but I'm not being able to do that. But that is a great, that's the whole relationship and partner. If you and your team are motivated by, let's give Pekin a try and sell X amount of premium, I'll get your team an Airbnb. Like we literally did that last year. So we want to come to where you are and see what works for you. And to your point, give us 10. And if it doesn't fit, fair enough. We don't want to waste anyone's time, your client's time, our time, your time. It's not fair. But we do believe if you give us 10 apps, you're going to see that there is value with this partnership and what we can do great together for your clients.
There you go. If you want further information about what the actual bonus is, comment below or contact me, and I'll be happy to share that with you guys. If you want to get contracted with Pekin, again, comment below or reach out. We'll get you set up for sure, and then you'll have a chance to do your 10 applications. If you're already contracted, hey, here's your open invitation to give them a try. And remember, even though this video is playing end of the month, maybe beginning of January, there are still people ready, willing, and wanting your help and to give Pekin a try. Absolutely. Amy, thank you for the time today and excited to see where this relationship goes together.
Absolutely. Looking forward to working with you and your team.
Thank you.